I got a history degree, and back when I got my history degree, I thought I better get a business degree so I can have something of use. I have learned in the last few years that if more people had a history degree and thought about it, we'd be a lot better off. You can learn so much from history. I tell you, there's this big, conflict, this crusade, or whatever people want to call it, between Christendom and Islam. There's nothing new, and it's nothing we can't overcome, but we've got to understand the roots of it, and that there's not a simplistic, they're bad, we're good. You go to Spain today, and in almost every church, in a lot of churches in southern Spain, you find a statue of this guy. His name is St. James the Moor Killer, St. James the Muslim Killer. And they go there in the church every Sunday and they worship. And here you got James on a horse with the cut off heads of Muslims all around him in a Christian church in 2000, in the 21st century. I mean, that's poignant. You go to that great church today and it's built on the ruins of a mosque, which is built on the ruins of a church, which is built on the ruins of a Roman temple, which was built on a ruin of an earlier pagan ground, you see, a holy ground. It's complicated. It's complicated. I love the thought of Europe uniting and Europe just having this pride and getting its act together. And when we travel in Europe today, we have that opportunity to see history as it's unfolding, and we can be part of it. And that's something a lot of travelers don't give themselves opportunity to do or credit to do. I was in Germany, in Berlin, on the opening week of their brand new Reichstag building, the Parliament building. And Germany united, the government goes from Bonn back to Berlin, and in good European style, they don't bulldoze the bombed out hulk of the destroyed from the World War II Parliament building there that was on the no man's land on Berlin Wall, They renovate it because it's got roots into their culture, and they incorporate a modern architectural design into it, and they open it up to the people. Free, open almost all the time, and designed for people to go. Well, when you look at this glorious glass dome, it's designed for the Germans to go up that ramp to the very top and literally look down over the shoulders of their legislators to see what's going on in their desk. They've been jerked around too much by their politicians in the last century, and they're not going to let it happen again. Powerful architectural symbolism for the new German Capitol building for the new united Germany. This is government by the people and for the people. I was on top of that dome on the opening week, surrounded by teary-eyed Germans. Anytime you're surrounded by teary-eyed Germans, something exceptional is going on. And it occurred to me, most of those teary eyes were old enough to remember the difficult times either during or after World War II when their city laid in rubble. And what an exciting moment for these people. The opening of this grand building was the symbolic closing of a difficult chapter in the history of a great nation. No more division, no more communism, no more fascism. A united government entering a new century with a new Capitol building looking into a promising future. Whoa, it was exciting to be there. I was caught up in it. And I looked around at the other American tourists up there, and it occurred to me not one of them had a clue what was going on. It saddened me. They were so interested in their batteries and their Coke and the air conditioning, all these little trivial things. They didn't miss what was happening, and they had this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to celebrate that with the German people. And it saddened me. I thought, I don't want to be in a dumbed-down society. That's what I thought when I looked at those people. I was disappointed in them. They're my countrymen, and they just didn't have it up here enough to notice what was happening. And I thought they're victims of a society that wants us to be dumbed down. Tourism. They just want you to have fun in the sun. They don't want you to think about it. Duty-free shopping, frequent flyer miles, what's the power of your suntan lotion, bingo, shopping, carry-on allotments, all of this stuff that's distracting you from the real reason to travel that we so vitally need these days. And I think across the board in our society, people want us to be dumbed down. What did they do? They just made the president of Reader's Digest the president of public broadcasting. Geez, that should blow a whistle. One Reader's Digest is enough for any society. Why do they find public broadcasting so threatening? Because it wants us to be smarted up instead of dumbed down. It's inconvenient if we want to really get into stuff. We need to expect our neighbors to be smarted up. In my own realm as a travel teacher, if I've got the opportunity to lead a tour, write a guidebook, or make a TV show, it's going to come with an expectation that my viewers, my travelers, are engaged, not dumbed down. I go to these travel shows all over the country. Everything's a celebration of dumbed downness these days, and it's maddening because we're confronted with some pretty serious challenges. And if you're going to let them figure it out, I would say you deserve the consequences, but there's lots of innocent people that don't deserve the consequences that are going to reap the benefits of that kind of neglect as well. When you travel, you meet people like you would never meet at home. I love it. I meet more people in 2 months in Europe, I think, that are different and interesting than I meet in a whole year here, because here we surround ourselves with people like ourselves. It's just a normal thing to do. You go to Europe and you are encountering people that you wouldn't normally sit next to on the bus and so on. I think it's a rich opportunity. They don't need to be big life-changing encounters, goofy little stuff. I met this kid, he was staring at me. It was rude. Finally his dad said, "Excuse my son, he stares at Americans." He said, last week we were at McDonald's, he was having his hamburger, and he said, "Dad, why do Americans have such soft bread?" And the dad said, "Because Americans have no teeth." Now, I don't think the dad was getting at anything. I think he was just being goofy and kind of entertaining himself. But now the poor kid's confused, and he looks at American tourists to see if they have teeth, and I had to show him mine. You meet all sorts of fun people in your travels. One of my favorite countries is Ireland, because in Ireland I have this sensation that I'm understanding a foreign language. It's a horrible shame that I speak only English, but you go to Ireland, not only do you feel like you're understanding a foreign language, but people there have the gift of gab. They love to talk, and it's an art form. Why is it such an art form? I think it's probably because if they don't speak Irish, Old Irish as their first language, it's ingrained in them, but that's the structure of their way of communicating, and I think it's more poetic and fun than our English structure. And we don't realize that they're talking to each other in Gaelic, and then you step in and they turn to you and talk in English. We think they talk English all the time, but they think and dream in Gaelic. And then you get caught up in these conversations way over there on the west coast of Ireland, where they say the next parish over is Boston. And you're talking to this guy. This is a Gaeltacht. It's a national preserve for the traditional cultures. The government decides, even at the expense of good business, that they will subsidize the continued existence of the traditional lifestyle because it's part of their heritage. And they've got this treasure that they're keeping alive. And you go over there and you get involved in these great conversations with these guys. It's very hard for me to keep my busy itinerary when I'm in Ireland, because people are so charming, they got all the time in the world to talk, and they're entertaining in their discussions. I was talking to this guy, and after a while I said, "Were you born here?" And then he said, "No, it was about 5 miles down the road." Later on I asked him, "Have you lived here all your life?" He said, "Not yet." Just fun interactions that you get with people, and that really carbonates your experience. When I'm doing a tour, or if I'm writing a guidebook or making a TV show, if I'm not connecting people with people, it's going to be a flat experience. I'm desperate. I've got to connect people with people.